Hello and welcome to Moment of Truth on Labour Social. I'm Graham Hughes. Apropos of nothing, I've decided to make a video today about creepy anti-vaxxer, conspiracy peddler, fascist ball chortler and celebrity stick insect, Russell Brand. We know that over the last few years he's become increasingly right-wing, has gone from pretend man of the people to actual man of the mega rich and powerful, with glowing endorsements from the likes of Elon Musk, Andrew Tate and Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel being the far-right billionaire nutcase who has a company called Planeteer, literally named after the crystal balls from The Lord of the Rings that corrupt the minds of both Saruman and King Theoden. A man is known by the company he keeps, indeed. But today I don't want to talk about that. Neither do I want to address the rumours that are currently swirling around the interwebs. I will leave that till tomorrow. Today I want to talk to you about why I blame him for Brexit. Or rather, why I believe Brexit wouldn't have happened had he not had a shitty, poorly written book to sell. So, 10 years ago, the so-called comedian, I've never heard him tell a joke, but that's beside the point, Russell Brand found himself on the publicity trail, flogging his upcoming book, Revolution, a very white, very middle-class, substance-free revolution, which involved whining about the way things were, without offering any credible solutions, such as PR or UBI or bringing back the guillotine. In the run-up to the book's publication, instead of doing the usual minor celebrity thing of treading the talk show circuit, Brand decided, or was advised, to start getting all political in his old age. Get yourself on Newsnight, that'll be good for the pre-orders, I could imagine someone saying. And so came the infamous car crash interview he gave with an increasingly exasperated Jeremy Paxman, which is a bit like watching a wise old Jedi Master having to deal with a toddler throwing a tantrum in a busy supermarket. Neither of them came out of it particularly smelling of roses, but what struck me at the time was how helpful for the right wing Brand's political publicity tour to sell a book was. The reason being that his central conceit that in all his interviews that politicians were the same. You might recognise that classic hit from such songsmiths as The Sun, The Daily Mail, The Express, The Telegraph, The Spectator, The Times, just about any publication that tells its readers that having a beer while on a political campaign when you're leader of the opposition is exactly the same as holding coke-fueled orgies in number 10 every other week when you're actually the Prime Minister. Oh yeah, and the rest of the country weren't allowed to be with their dying nan. All politicians are liars is music to the ears of the powerful and the corrupt. But arguably, even worse than that, Brand bragged that he had never voted before, saying there was no point. Considering most of Brand's audience were young people, and while it might sound like a bit of a stretch to say it had a sizable impact on the result of the 2015 election, you might want to bear in mind two things. One, only 43% of the population aged between 18 and 24 turned out to vote in the 2015 election, while 78% of those aged 55 and over voted. Mostly for the Tories. Two, we have a stupid first-past-the-post system. On the night, swivel-eyed Tory Andrea Jenkins beat Labour's Ed Balls by just 422 votes. Similar results were seen across the country. The constituency of Bolton West was a Tory win from Labour by 801 votes, Telford by 730 votes, the Vale of Clwyd by 237 votes, Derby North by just 41 votes, and Gower by just 27 votes. If those 6 seats had gone the other way, the Tories wouldn't have had a working majority. Now look, I know there's a million factors that go into the outcome of a general election, not least Ed Miliband's inability to eat a bacon sandwich like a normal person. But there is clear evidence that the youth vote could have made a difference, but sadly didn't. I guess 52% of them felt there was no point in voting. I wonder who gave them that idea. Brand changed his mind a couple of weeks before the actual election, endorsing Ed Miliband's Labour, but that was long after the opportunity to register to vote had passed, and something that the older generations don't necessarily have to worry about. By then, it was too little, too late. In the end, the overall turnout for 18 to 24-year-olds was 1% down from the 2010 election. The final result, the Tories winning a slender 12-seat majority, was the worst of all possible worlds. It directly fueled the mayhem that was the Brexit fraudulendum and beyond. Even the Tories were surprised, expecting to plod on with the Lib Dems in tow. The pre-election promise of an in-out EU referendum, something that could have been kicked down the road for another parliament to deal with, on the 4th of never, and the absolute chundering bell whiffs of the ERG would not have had the power to override any hint of common sense emanating from the more centralist parts of the party. His job done, Brand then jumped on his private jet and disappeared. He was nowhere to be seen during the Brexit campaign. I guess he didn't have a book to sell. This is why his recent far-right content doesn't feel like much of a pivot to me. This is who he always was. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. I'll see you tomorrow.